So when it comes to multiplying whole numbers and integers, what we're primarily doing is adding numbers in groups. So when I have 3 times 2, I'm going to have a group of 3 like this. And then I have 2 groups of them, so I'm going to add another group. And then I count up all the dots that I have. I have 6. So my final answer is 6. And another example of this would be 4 times 3. So I have 4 groups, or 3 groups of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to make 2 more groups of this. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you add them all up, your answer is going to be 12. And you can do this with either the first number or the second number. It doesn't matter. Where you can have this number be the group or 2 be the group, and it works either way. As if I were to do 3 groups of 2, I have, here's my first group of 2, and then I'm going to add 2 more to get 3, like this. So this works when you're dealing with 2 positive numbers. However, this is not always the case, as you could have 2 negative numbers. And when we have a negative number, or 2 negative numbers, so I'm going to do an example of minus 3 times 2. So what happens when we have a negative number and we multiply a positive number with it is it will become negative. So instead of me using the blue dots, I'm going to use the red dots to signify that they're negative. And the same rules apply where I'll have a group of 3, and then I have 2 groups of 3, like this. So I have 6. So my answer is 6, but since I had this negative, I had to put the negative sign on the 6. And this will always hold true when you're multiplying a negative number and a positive number. And if you were to have 2 negative numbers, let's say you had minus 3 times minus 3, what happens is these actually cancel out. So this becomes 3 times 3. And then you go through using the same procedure. Where I have a group of 3, and then I have 3 groups of them. So I'm going to add 2 more. So now I have 3 groups of 3. This is equal to 9. And this will always hold true, that when you multiply a negative number to a positive number, you get a negative number, and when you multiply 2 negative numbers together, you get a positive number, and then when you multiply 2 positive numbers, you get a positive number. Now, what if we were to multiply 2 numbers, let's say 15 times 20, and you can either use the dot or the x for multiply, they both work. So this would take a long time for me to count out either 20 dots or 15 dots and then group them up respectively. So what I'm actually going to do is there is a better method to do this, and this is called long multiplication. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 15 times 20 like this, and then I'm going to solve it. So the way you do this is you're going to look at the bottom row, and then you're going to go number by number. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the 0 first, and then you're going to multiply the 0 by 5, and then the 0 by 1. So when you do it, you're going to get 0 and 0. And then you're going to go on to the next number, which is 2. And then you're going to multiply the 2 by 5 and the 2 by 1. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to the next line. However, you're not going to start right here. You're actually going to go 1 number over, and you're going to start right here. So 2 times 5 is going to be 10. I'm going to do a 0, and then place a little 1 up here, because that's what I'm adding into the next row. Then I'm going to do 2 times 1, which is going to be 2, 1, and then these numbers will add. So this is going to be 3. This is still going to be 0, and this 0 is brought down to get 0. And my final answer is going to be 300. So I'm gonna quickly erase everything and do another example. So I'm going to choose the number 17 times 48. So I'm going to start with the first number on the bottom, the 8, multiply it to the 7 and the 1. When I multiply 8 times 7, that's going to be 56. So I'm going to write a 6. And then the 5 is carried over up here, up top. And then 8 times 1 is going to be 8. And then remember, these numbers add back up. So my final answer for my first row is going to be 136, as 5 plus 8 is 13. And then there's a little 1 up here because it's carrying over to get 136. And then I'm going to go on to the 4 for 48. So multiply the 7 and the 1, making sure that I don't start right here. I move 1 over to start in the tens place. So 4 times 7 is going to be 28. So I'm going to do 8, and then I'm place the 2 up here because it's carrying over. And then 4 times 1 is going to be 4, like this. So then you bring this down, 6. You add these two numbers up. So 3 plus 8 is going to be 11. So I get a 1. And then now I place that extra 1 just up here. I don't really have another place to put it. And then 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 4 is going to be 8. So my final answer is going to be 816. And then this last example, I'm going to choose the number 13 times 99. So I'm first going to start with the 9 on the right, multiply it by 3 and 1. So 3 times 9 is going to be 27, right? Right, 7, put 2 up here. And then 9 times 1 is going to be 9, like this. Add them together. So this is going to be 7, 1, 1, like this. So now it's time to do the next 9. Multiply it again by 3 and 1. And then I move over 1. So I'm gonna place a 0 when I move over just to help visualize it that I'm moving over. So 9 times 3 is gonna be 7. And then I add the 2 up here because it's the carryover. And then 9 times 1 is going to be 9, like this. We add all them up. So I get 7, 8, 2 plus 1 plus 9 is going to be 12. So I'm going to write the 2 and then the 1. And then this is my final answer, 1,287. And that'll be it for my showing of long multiplication. And there is one more process to multiplying whole integer numbers, and that is going to be exponents, which was covered briefly in an earlier video. So if you remember, exponents are 2 to the power of a number. I'm just going to call it x, and this can be any number. So let's say I have 2 to the power of 3. What that's going to be 2 times 2 times 2. So this number 3, or x, is going to be how many times you multiply that number. So if I had 3 to the power of 4, that's going to be equal to 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And this is equal to 81. And this will hold true for any number where we have this being the base, this being the exponent, and a quick tip for multiplying multiple numbers at once like this. So there's two ways you can do it. You can either multiply each number. So I do 3 times 3, which is 9, and then 9 times 3, which is 27, and 27 times 3, which is 81. Or the other way to do it is by doing 3 times 30, which is 9, and then doing the other 3 times 3 over here, which is also 9. And then you can multiply these two numbers to get 81. And that'll be it for this video. If you like it, please comment.